Good morning, everyone. My name is Will Zegon, and I'm going to be giving a presentation on hydraulic elevators today. I worked downtown for AFD for 3 years and made several elevator calls. Um, it's a subject that I'm pretty interested in and passionate about and have a decent amount of experience with. Whether you ever work downtown or somewhere with several elevators, I'm sure at some point in your career you'll make a elevator rescue call. So today's going to cover hydraulic elevators, and the objectives of today's lesson are to be able to distinguish a hydraulic elevator from an electric elevator, to know the basic layout of a hydraulic elevator system, know the basic anatomy of a hydraulic elevator, and go over one way to safely and effectively rescue people from a trapped or stalled elevator car, excuse me. So with hydraulic elevators, it typically can only service up to 75 feet, so you're going to find them in shorter buildings, usually 6 stories or under. The control room is typically located adjacent to the elevator shaft. They have one single power source to kill power, main power to the elevator, which also kills power to the cab lights and AC if it has it. They're a much simpler design and layout than electric elevators, and a couple differences also are they're much slower. They have a maximum speed of 150 feet per second. They're less expensive to make and require less space than electric elevators. So electric elevators, they can service buildings much higher than 6 stories, pretty much unlimited height on those. Their control rooms and machine rooms, instead of being typically adjacent, they're usually on the roof of the building or on one of the top floors of a building. They have 2 power shutoffs, so one thing when making elevator rescues, you want to kill power to the elevator. So with hydraulic elevators, you don't have the option of leaving the cab lights on or the AC if it has it. With electric elevators, you do. You can kill the 220 volt power, which kills the main power to the elevator, while leaving the 110 volt on, and that will keep the lights on in the elevator car, as well as AC if it has it. Another difference with electric elevators is they'll usually have several cars per bank, and then several banks per building. In general, like a bigger building, taller building, more elevators, that's probably going to be an electric. A smaller, shorter building, a lot of times you'll find is hydraulic. The electric elevators have faster travel speeds, and they're a bit more complex and more expensive than hydraulic elevators. Okay, so we're going to go over the layout of hydraulic elevators. There's 2 main features. There's the elevator, which and the lifting mechanisms. So the elevator component consists of the elevator car, which is what everyone kind of thinks of when they think of an elevator, basically what you ride in. The cylinder, which is a piston that runs up the shaft of the elevator shaft, and a pumping system. So the pump pushes hydraulic fluid into a cylinder, and as that fills up, that is what lifts the elevator car. The second component of hydraulic elevators is the lifting mechanism. This consists of a hydraulic reservoir, which is basically just a big tank of hydraulic fluid. The hydraulic pump, which sends that fluid between the reservoir and the elevator. The cylinder, which is the piston in the elevator shaft, and controller. Usually all these things are located in the machine room, also known as a control room, and that room is usually adjacent to the elevator shaft of the hydraulic elevator. So here's the components again of the elevator portion of the system. You have your car, there's a pit, which is basically just below grade where the bottom of the elevator car sits when it's at lobby level. The cylinder and the pumping system. So we'll take a look at all of those things in a graphic. As you can see, so that bottom part, the pit, that's where all the lines that are feeding the piston, which is that thing running up and down the center of the shaft attaching to the elevator car. So the piston is what fills up with hydraulic fluid and gives the elevator its lift. And those are the main components that we really need to know about as far as on the elevator side of things. There's one other component on there that we're going to go over today. I just want you to be aware of, but it's a lesson for a different day. But this right here, you're going to find on the top of hydraulic elevators. And what this does is allows you from on top of the elevator car to control the elevator's movement up or down using this controller here. I just want you to be aware of it so if you're not thrown off if you come across that, but we're not going to go into this subject into detail. Okay, so how to locate a hydraulic elevator machine room or control room. It's usually adjacent to the hydraulic elevator lobby. If the elevator is not in the lobby, one way you can locate the machine room if you're having difficulty finding it is you can open the lobby door of the elevator and look into the elevator pit, which I was talking about earlier. And in that pit, you'll find hydraulic lines. You follow those hydraulic lines to the machine room, and that's where you're going to find all your lifting mechanisms. So here is a picture of an elevator pit. Obviously, the elevator car is above us at this, like from this view. And basically what you're doing is just following that line, which supplies the hydraulic fluid to the piston. And that line will lead you to the elevator room, which connects to the elevator reservoir. And that's how the system moves hydraulic fluid back and forth from the reservoir to the piston. So once you follow that line, or if you can find it on your own, that'll lead you to the control or machine room. Those terms are interchangeable depending on who you're talking to. You might call it control room, you might call it machine room. But either way, it's usually located adjacent to the elevator shaft, but on occasion it can be above that, below that, or separated. When in doubt, you can follow those hydraulic lines like we just went over from the elevator pit. Once located, the control machine room is where you're going to find all your lifting mechanisms. So your lifting mechanisms are the hydraulic reservoir, the hydraulic pump, hydraulic valves, hydraulic disconnect. Also in that room, you're going to find electrical disconnect power boxes and electronic controller. Hey buddy. So here's a picture of power shutoff of hydraulic elevator machine room. That's going to be the 220 volt. So once you begin your call, you're going to go in there before you do much of anything else and kill power, the main power to the elevator. At some point, if there is somebody located in the elevator car, you may want to give them a heads up that they're going to probably lose lights, but everything's still safe and they're okay. So here's a picture of a hydraulic elevator reservoir, and inside of that reservoir is the hydraulic pump. It's placed in there to keep it cool, to keep the pump cool while it's running. Here's a picture of a hydraulic pump and T-handle, which you can see there, kind of in the center of that green box. And we will go over the T-handles in detail now. So, once you've accessed the hydraulic pump, your next step should be to locate the T-handle. The T-handle controls the flow of hydraulic fluid between the reservoir and the piston of the elevator. That's what raises the elevator car and lowers it. So, when fluid from the reservoir is going into the piston, the elevator car is going to be going up. When the hydraulic fluid is coming out of the piston back flowing into the reservoir, is what brings the elevator down. The T-handles, which is what controls that movement of hydraulic fluid between the reservoir and the piston, they may be in different spots on each hydraulic elevator you encounter. It's not really standardized. They are relatively small, like a third the size of a pencil. They're typically made of metal, but occasionally painted all kinds of different colors, and they can all look, different from each other, but they're pretty much just a metal T for the most part. So even with all those differences, they're still relatively easy to locate most times. Just start at the hydraulic pump inside of the reservoir. Start scanning that area for a small metal object in the shape of those are T's. So those pictures are different examples of what it may look like, but essentially just go to the hydraulic pump, scan that area, look for a metal T object. That's going to be your T-handle. All right, so now we have the general knowledge of hydraulic elevators and the systems. We need to perform a hydraulic elevator rescue, so let's go over how to do that. So the call, like any other call in the fire department, we'll start with a size up on your way there. How many stories is the building that you're going to? What kind of elevator can you expect to find at that building? What tools are you going to potentially need for this call? Those are all things to think about on the way. Once you get on scene, bring all the tools and equipment you need with you to the scene. Attempt to locate the building manager so he or she can contact the elevator mechanic to request their assistance. Next step you're going to want to do is locate the machine room using those elevator pit techniques that we covered, or finding the adjacent room to the elevator shaft. Then you're going to split your team into two. Two of them are going to locate the stalled elevator, and the other two are going to go to the elevator machine room. So you can go over tools that we may need for these calls. Which ones you're going to need probably depends on what information you have for that particular call. You can discuss with your crew who's going to grab what in different elevator rescue situations, scenarios. Then create pre-assignments that work best for your crew. But some kind of standard tools that you may need for elevator rescue are forcible entry, elevator keys, an attic ladder, Knox keys, radios, medical bags if someone is having a medical emergency in the stalled elevator car. All right, so the machine room team, first thing you're gonna do is locate that main power shutoff that we talked about earlier and kill power to that broken elevator system. This is pretty standard, typical looking power box that supplies a hydraulic elevator system that you can kind of expect to see something similar to in the machine room. So you just go and pull that handle down to the off position. Next step you're going to do is locate the hydraulic reservoir, which typically look like that in general. They could be different colors or slightly different configurations, but they're not typically hard to spot in the machine room. So once you locate that hydraulic reservoir, you're going to open it up, and inside you're going to find that hydraulic pump that we were discussing earlier. And there's a picture of the hydraulic pump inside of that reservoir, as well as arrows pointing to the T-handle, which you're going to want to locate. The other team of two, the stalled car team, You're going to use the stairs to the nearest floor of the stalled elevator car. So if it's in between floor 3 and 4, but closer to 3, you can go to 3. Okay, you're going to want to try to make contact with the people stuck in the car, see if there's any medical emergency or any other kind of issue inside of that car going on with the people that are stuck. Let the people know that in the car that you're working on getting them out and they're not in danger. Then you can head to the lobby level elevator door. Once you're back at the lobby, confirm with the machine room team that the power to the system has been cut. Do not attempt to open those elevator doors at the lobby without confirmation power has been killed to the elevator, because you could potentially get shocked trying to open those doors if you attempt to before power's killed. So then you're going to open the lobby door. You know, we typically do those drop keys, but whatever method you need to get those doors open at the lobby, whatever's simplest, most effective, and can cause the least amount of damage is typically the route we're going to want to go with. Always open those doors fully. If you don't fully open them, as the elevator car passes by them, they can damage the doors and leave the system inoperable. So open those doors all the way up. Once everyone's in place, and we've killed the power and met all those other objectives that we went over, the machine room team, in radio contact with the elevator team, now at the lobby door, may turn the T-handle to the left, opening the line, allowing that hydraulic fluid to flow out of the piston back into the reservoir. That'll cause the car to slowly and controlled descend down, and as it's approaching the elevator lobby where you have the doors open as a stalled car team, you're going to want to give them a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 stop countdown. And at stop, the T-handle operator is going to close that T-handle back to the right, stopping the flow of hydraulic fluid, and it'll keep the remaining fluid in the piston, which is going to keep that that elevator car in place. So now the elevator car is at the lobby landing and the elevator door open, the power killed, and hydraulic line shut, the once trapped occupants can now just exit the elevator car safely in the same fashion that they would if the elevator was totally fine and they were never stuck in the first place. All right, so to wrap up the incident, you're going to access trapped elevator occupants for any medical issues, close the elevator lobby door. You're going to want to do lockout, tag out procedures, keep the broken elevator off, and secure access to the power and the on-off switch of it. Ensure that building mechanic for the elevator is en route or already there. Then inform the building manager you're going to leave that elevator out of service until the mechanic can fix the issue. And then you're going to want to secure all the rooms that you made access to with your Knox keys. So lock all that stuff back up so citizens can't get into restricted places. Pick up all your equipment and clear the scene. So that's it for the presentation. Hopefully now we all know how to distinguish between an electric and hydraulic elevator, the basic components and layout of a hydraulic elevator system and anatomy, and one way to effectively rescue victims from a stalled hydraulic elevator. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thanks for your time. Clap it up.